sure I've heard some research about trying to sort of reignite cells to return them to their stem cell state so that they can be involved in regeneration of damaged areas.
Yeah, for the sake of the recording, Kath was asking the question about can all cells be stem cells, and it's like it was a hallelujah moment going on. It was like big, huge, all-encompassing yes.
So previously, I've worked with, I've done, under hypnosis, I've got the body consciousness connecting. It was that work. You remember when I hypnotized you, and then when you were under hypnosis and you channeled about allergies and stuff. We were. Do you remember we got that the moment of creation is the point at which the body consciousness, the ego mind, the soul, and the God. We called it the God particle, but that's not to be confused, maybe not confused with what's already out there as known as the God particle. But it's the element of God, the creative. Is the God part? What we refer to as the God particle, is that like the creative force?
Yeah, I kind of look at it like the God conscious. The God conscious awareness that we are, as opposed to the non-conscious that we can just.
So God,
I'll call it God
conscious. Yeah. I'll call it God conscious.
But in the God channeling conscious. In the books that has come through so far, it basically explains that at the smallest infinitesimal particle, it can choose to be a wavelength or a particle, and that particular infinitesimally small thing that can be either a particle or a wavelength is just manifest through absolutely everything, and that is
Andrea.
the God particle.
Does that relate to the binary 0-1 on off particle or wave?
Yeah. Another kind of hallelujah type moment.
Because that's
the response going,
that's the quantum theory is, or I'm not going to pretend I know what quantum theory is, but it's that, what's observed, a particle, a thing. What is it I'm saying? That a particle can act subatomic. What is it? What was it that was light? Light, for instance, can act as, or can be observed as, a particle or a wave.
Yeah.
But it's not just light particles, is it? Subatomic particles can act as.
It can go through it. Yeah, it can go through everything.
Can be, I'm not saying can act as, but can be observed as. There's a difference, isn't there? They're not acting as one or the other. We're observing them as one or the other, as a wave or a particle. So that wave particle, one or the other, is that the same as on or off, 1 or 0?
It's not the same as.
Is it, when we were asking about genetics before and genes being switched on or switched off, I'm not quite sure what I'm getting at, to be honest with you, but I just saw a connection between the particle or wave as a yes, no, on, off.
Yeah, definitely a connection. I think it was just in the words when you said, is it the same as?
Okay, and then going back to the stem cell then, is that when a cell in the body is behaving like a stem cell, is that I don't understand my own questions, but is when the stem cell
that's because they're given to you and you're kind of working them through.
Yeah. When a cell in the body is acting like a stem cell, is it observed as a wave? All the particles that make up that cell, are they?
Yeah, particles that make up that cell. Yeah.
And when the cell is being observed as not stem cell, so a limited cell, a cell with limitation, is that when the cells that make up the particles that make up that cell are behaving as what was the other thing? Not wave, particle, as a particle.
I'm not getting anything here.
Is it my words?
Yeah.
I know. I'm working it. I'm not. I know this isn't a fully formed question. Dave's waving at me. Dave's here. Dave's doing the sound recording, and he's looking at me because he has science knowledge, and he's listening to my questions with a science head, which I'm not. I'm just listening, trying to understand what I'm being given to ask.
Yeah.
But also for the purpose of the recording, Dave the sound man can also channel too.
Yes.
We are the channeling.
Yeah,
the channeling crew.
Is there something in what I'm asking though?
Definitely. There's definitely, you're being given something for a purpose of exploration here, without a doubt. Yeah.
It feels like, if you think about, when you picture a particle, it feels solid, doesn't it? Whereas you try and picture a wave, and it's hard to grasp. You can't grasp a wave, but you can grasp a particle. So there's this difference in feeling, in quality, that a particle feels solid. But we know that this experience, although it feels solid, a table you think is a solid table, and but that's illusion, isn't it? When you think about what a table is, it's there's nothing there. Yeah,
I tend to look at it like the particles. If you really looked at them with a huge microscope, basically, it's all relative. They could be miles apart, and I look at the wavelength as what's in between the particles. It's like the nothingness in between. I don't know. I know whatever I say it just won't make sense because I'm not that way inclined either.
I think the waves give us it's like a hologram. It's like, you're seeing something, and it's your imagination that makes it solid.
Yeah.
It's your imagination that turns the wave into a particle.
Yeah. And it's all relative as well, isn't it? It's all relative because, if you were the size of the cell, water becomes almost solid.
Yeah.
At that.
I'm seeing the universe and all the planets spaced out, and all the stars spaced out, and the space between them is huge. But if you go into our bodies and into our cells, it depends on how small you make yourself as you're observing. It would be exactly the same.
So why was Dave waving then? What did Dave have to say?
What did Dave have to say?
I was saying Kath's getting jumbled up and mixed with her particles and waves and cells, and it was all getting a bit of a mishmash in terms of description. But I think we got there in the end, didn't we?
I was just...
Okay.
What did you say to that?
Who are you talking to?
You.
I'm not sure who I am anymore. All right. Should we go back to the channeling?
Yeah, let's.
You're losing your identity. That's fantastic. You're going in the right direction.
I'm gaining an awareness as an identity, and I'm aware of that certainly over the last few years, but, it's definitely there. Right, okay. Let me... Right, ready when you are.
Well, what...
Thank you.
Can we have some feedback? Help us out in understanding what the question is and what the answer is.
As you are aware, there are many questions to ask scientifically that can generate an understanding through the intellectual mind of who we truly are as a connected force of light beings as one identity. The question that you are referring to was given for purpose of demonstrating that the people involved in this conversation are not scientifically knowledgeable in the intellectual mind, and that is an important standpoint in the foundation of this work. For the upcoming discussions will deliberately provide information that only the intellectual mind in greater capacity utilised across the whole planetary system can respond in light and in love with. So back to the question. In time and in space, there are many different particles that are being created with, but in the subatomic world, there is one ultimate particle that creates all and everything. And that ultimate particle that creates all and everything is known in this world as the hydrogen particle. And in that hydrogen particle, we call it a particle for purpose, because if we termed it an atom, we would be distracting from the creative conscious mind that we'll be explaining further. Andrea, at this stage of her lifting conscious, is questioning why particle and not atom, and therefore we responded with an answer. Your question, Kath, is different. Your question is based around what is solid, what is liquid, what is gaseous, and what is the energetic form of creation that lies between all particles of their sound, light, and oh, I've just been dropped. I've just been totally dropped.
Really? What?
Yeah.
No more channeling?
I just got dropped.
What do you mean you got dropped?
Well, how do I explain it? It's like Andrea's there, like I am now.
Mm.
But when I was channeling, you're channeling, you're in a flow, and then
It's like the door's been closed on you, kind
Was
of.
it wasn't that, sometimes you stop and the word doesn't come and somebody else has the word. Was it not like that?
yeah, it could be, but it felt very different. I feel like it was very similar to what happened in the last conversation.
Right.
But I wasn't in the same place. I was, let me explain. I think maybe for the recording, it's so that we explain to people, because people experience this all the time. I think it's like me as an Andrea awareness, as a consciousness, if you like. I get placed to one side, and then the awareness of what's coming through gets more and more and more focused in intention, and Andrea becomes diminished, if you like, as a consciousness. Now, while that's happening, when it starts, like the part of me can ask questions of what's coming through the channel, but it's like I'm interfering. It's like if some channel comes through and I'm asking a question, the channel automatically sways itself to answer the question and come back again, like it's acknowledging the fact that I, as Andrea, had a question to ask. But as I rise in awareness, or the awareness comes in further, and I'm not explaining this very well, but that particular part of me that would have question is just not there anymore. There's no way that I can question anything that comes in. It just comes through.
Yeah.
It's like the the channel of Andrea can't ask anything. It's like I'm completely put to one side and everything just flows. Now, what happened when we were recording last time was I was completely in a place of there was no part of me that could ask question. There was no part. I was literally just in the all-knowing place of this is awareness as identity, and Andrea doesn't exist type thing. But again, I was just dropped. I was just literally just dropped. Like last time, it's just I wasn't in the same place, but I was just dropped. Bizarre. I don't know why it happens.
Can we have an explanation from them as to why it happens, or is this like the end of the session?
Very, 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 very good question, Laura. Thank you. We are giving the demonstration for the purpose of allowing people to understand that the channel is not identity as such. It is a consciousness being communicated. And this is an important part of the explanation. In identity, you are as I am, awareness of mind. You are as I am, an awareness of body and an awareness of consciousness. And the conscious self is the God conscious particle that is light. It is awareness of all, and it is everything. And as the non-conscious part of identity is held onto, as the non-conscious part of identity has question to answer, the non-conscious part of identity is the identity, for it is being entertained as the identity. When the conscious mind that is beyond all intellect is identified with, there is no question to ask, there is only answer. When the question is asked and the answer is experienced, it is done so for purpose of understanding through experience who we are not. This was previously discussed and was returned to, for it is important. It is an intrinsic part of the answer that will become apparent. Going back to the question of Kath that was placed in time and space to understand, the energetic force of creation is the wavelength that is not solid particulate matter. It is the conscious mind that is God. It is the conscious mind that is all-knowing, ever-present, and a creative force within the non-conscious world. However, the non-conscious aspect of identity that holds to particulate matter as an identity will create and does create with full observance of the conscious aspect of self in higher awareness. And this is being explained for purpose because the platform in understanding wavelength and particulate matter must encroach first upon the understanding of identity once more. In the understanding of that at this level, we can then explain further. The light energy that is given to all as the conscious identity, as the beingness, as the solid particulate matter, is the identity within the physical body that is conscious. It is physical. It is in the understanding of this that we will continue. In the non-conscious aspect of self, in the physical world, the matter that is being experienced is held in time and space as limited, not unlimited. It is the belief in identity that limits. It is the belief in identity that holds the consciousness to its self exploration. So in time and in space, as the stem cell program develops, as the awareness of the genetic coding develops, as the circular arrangement in time and space truly begins, and people in this framework become aware that the cycle is there, the genetic structure feeding into the mind and the mind feeding into the genetic structure, the solid particle that is limited in time and space becomes unlimited in conscious capacity. And yes, as we were discussing earlier, all cells can be stem cells. This is an understanding that will develop as science explores within the intellectual mind that is given at this time. And in the quantum theory that was being discussed, the interlude, the interspatial arrangement between particulate matter is the God conscious identity. And it was explained earlier by Andrea, for the books have explored this in detail, that the God conscious particle and the God conscious wavelength are the creative force that can transform all and everything into the full awareness of mind in any instant. And this will, in upward moments, also occur. In the gentle transition between, however, the understanding is the exploration between the non-conscious and the conscious, between the physical particle in limitation and the physical particle in unlimited creator conscious. And the soul, as an identity in awareness, can enter in and out of any particulate matter, whether that be limited in belief or unlimited in its conscious creative capacity. The soul itself does so for purpose of experience, as previously discussed.